Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Juan Londoño and today we're going to discuss a quote and possibly one of the main reasons why photographers abandon photography. The quote is from Burk, Uzzle, and I hope I didn't mess up that name too much. And the quote is very simple. Photography is a love affair with life. As I always recommend in my videos, whenever I quote someone, I always request that you go out there and, research the person a little, find out a little bit about their life, right? We're talking about them. They've said something that's lingered, right, with time, and that in itself is wonderful, right? We can only hope that we say something one day that people are quoting, 100 years from now, right? So look into Burk, Uzzle, and find out a little bit about him, and hopefully that'll make you an even better photographer. Back to the topic though, right? So it's probably not the only reason, but I claim, right, in this video that it's one of the main reasons that photographers step away, walk away from photography, and it's falling out of love with life. Before we dive into this reason, and it's not going to be a long video, but I want to cover other possibilities for people walking away from photography. These are probably a little more common and popular. These are the ones that we hear more about. So let's go through them one by one. And there's only 3 that I can think of. If you can think of more, put them down below in the comments. Thank you. Also, before we continue, grab something to drink real quick. I always rely on nice cool water, especially it's the summer here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's warm. So get yourself something nice and come back and join us. One of the reasons why people walk away from photography is simply lack of interest, right? I mean, this is true with anything in life, right? People get into something, they try it for a little while, and then they say to themselves, this is really not what I thought, or this is not what I expected. I don't like this as much as I thought I might, right? And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. When I teach my photography class, some people come to me and say, Juan, I don't know if I'm going to like photography, right? So I don't have a really nice camera. I recommend that they buy a used camera, and it doesn't have to be really expensive. It's just so they can play around with manual mode and different lenses. And many times these people have gone on to love photography, but there are times that people are grateful for buying a used camera and end up stepping away from photography completely. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with our quote today and not being in love with life. This is a different reason. This is just you tried something and it didn't touch your soul, right? This is not your calling, whatever. That's fine, perfectly fine. I've met people that insisted on having a new camera for the class. They come to the class and, they're pretty excited. They finish the class. They do a few things outside in the real world, and then they eventually end up stepping away from photography anyway. So it's not for everybody, right? Everything isn't for everybody. Number 2 is a lack of money, right? Lack of money is a big one. Photography is not one of the cheapest hobbies. There are other hobbies that people enjoy, collecting trinkets or, when they go to different countries, for example. I used to have this hobby, I collect frogs. So anytime I went to another country, if I saw a little frog on display, I would buy it, bring it back. Not a terribly expensive hobby. I'm not traveling all the time. So I accrued probably about 15 to 20 little frogs. I stopped somewhere along the way, plus I wasn't traveling much. Photography is not cheap, right? Between the cameras and the lenses and everything else we have to buy, right? Tripods and backpacks and all that stuff, it gets expensive. Now, are there more expensive hobbies? Of course there are, right? You can get into racing automobiles, you can get into golf. I hear golf, I'm not a golfer. If you are, let me know if you think it's expensive, because I know sometimes the dues, the fees, whatever, right? The equipment, all that stuff adds up. So money is definitely a topic, and some people, they get discouraged because they can't have the best, the biggest camera and lenses, and and they feel limited, you know. I've met people that have come to the class with whether it's a new camera or used camera, and I'll recommend, if you want to do a little better, right? If you want to up your game a little bit, if you want to take some of the pictures that you see me take, the kit lens sometimes doesn't do it. You need a lens that opens a lot wider to control the depth of field. And then they go look at that, and the lens they have is a $250, $300 lens. They look at the lens that, you know, possible recommendations and that I send their way. And now you're looking at, you know, $1,000, $2,000, right? Luckily, there are some cheaper manufacturers making lenses now out of China and other countries. And it helps. It helps, you know, it breaks you in. Some of these are manual focused, but that's okay. So anyway, lack of money, number 2. Number 3 is very interesting. And I'm leaving our main topic as number 4. Number 3 is doing it for the wrong reason. Now, what's the wrong reason? Well, sometimes the wrong reason isn't a bad reason, but it's still the wrong reason. For example, one of these, work. I've met so many photographers that have gotten into photography because they know it pays well, right? And if you do it right and you continue to grow your clientele, it pays well. I even know photographers that left their day job, right? That's how well they were doing. But somewhere along the way, it wasn't their calling. So they went back to doing something else. And I know people that would dream for that opportunity, photographers that would dream for that opportunity of leaving their day job and doing photography for a living. I also know photographers that left their day job over a decade ago and have been doing it because they love photography. And, you know, yes, weddings can be stressful and blah, 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 but they love it so much. All those things are irrelevant. They're still taking pictures. They're still buying gear. That's what they love, and that's fantastic. So work could be the wrong reason, right? And I say that, you know, with a grain of salt, right? Take it with a grain of salt, because feeding your family is never a bad reason, but it could be the wrong reason to get into photography. So it's not going to fill you from the inside. It's going to definitely take care of your needs, but maybe you're not going to be totally happy. Parents is another, right? Whether it's that you had a mother or have a mother or a father that are big photographers and you want to follow in their footsteps, or because you were a semi-good maybe at one point, or you're kind of good, even now, and your parents or relatives are pushing you in that direction, that's never a good reason. You know, it could end up being a wonderful living, again, but if it's not satisfying you, you know, I kind of feel that way about, you know, engineering. I did engineering. I was really, really good at architecture, and I never pursued it because my family wanted me to pursue engineering. So, you know, of course I wanted to make them happy, and I did very well for myself as an engineer, very happy. But I think I would have been happier if I pursued architecture, right? So this is what we're talking about. So if you're doing it to please somebody else, it's probably not the right reason anyway. And then the glamour for it all is another reason, right? I know, and some of these are close friends, people that got into photography because they knew they could meet the opposite sex, whether it's man, woman, whatever, right? They were going to get into a little bit of fashion, runway shows, stuff like that, right? Clothing, photography. And they ended up meeting people. None of it stuck, but that's okay. That's why they did it, right? When you get into photography because it's glamorous, and it kind of can be if you're in that right industry, when you have that camera in your hand, you have good gear and lights, and you're calling the shots, literally, right? You're calling the shots. It's probably not going to last that long because it's going to fade, right? It's going to fade away. Especially if people catch on and then people start kind of walking away from you because you're doing it for that reason. It's not cool. So be careful. It will get you in the door into you know, a whole industry. But if you're doing it for dating and meeting people, can you enjoy it? You can enjoy it for a while. But if the photography itself is not the passion, then it's not going to last. There are probably other reasons, right? Like I said, put them down in the description. But you know, those are the main 3 I could come up in those subcategories of that last one, right? Doing it for the wrong reason. I'm going to ask for a big favor at this point, and like and subscribe. If you're liking the video so far, like the video. It goes a long way for the channel, and if you subscribe, even better. Down in the description, I have a buy me a coffee link. What that does is, you know, I'm not doing a lot of video, video too, but, you know, camera reviews, lens reviews, that kind of thing, right? Accessory reviews, because right now I have to go and buy these things. I'm about to do a small review of a lens that I bought just for the review, believe it or not, because it was inexpensive. But for me to do these things, it helps if there's something coming in, right? So if you buy me a coffee, there are different ways of doing that. Click the link below, find out, and I'm eternally grateful for you in advance. Thank you. So I'm willing to bet that 50% of the people that walk away from photography, and you know, this is a number I'm pulling out of thin air, but I'm willing to bet that 50% are one of those three reasons we just talked about. But even if it's not 50%, 40, 60, whatever, right? There's another whole chunk of percentage of people that walk away, and this is the topic of the video. And the topic is basically falling out of love with life. If you went into photography because you genuinely love photography, what the author of that quote is saying, photography is a love affair with life. He's basically saying, Burk Uzzle, is one of the reasons you get into photography, one of the reasons you're passionate about photography is because you have a certain love affair with life. And I'm not going to disagree with him. You know, I never really thought about it that way. I really looked at it as I have a connection with the camera, with the lens, with the technology behind it, with the creative side of it. And I think that's all still relevant. But I never really thought about it that there's a deep connection with life, right? When you love life, there's a part of you that wants to hold on to it, right? And capture it. And I think that's where photography comes in. That's where a painter comes in. Somebody who draws, somebody who sculpts, right? And makes a statue of a beautiful dancer, for example. They're holding on to a moment of something, right? Even better because they're visualizing it, they're creating it in their head. Sometimes the things they create don't even exist. As photographers, we're capturing things that are out there, right? So I think it's a powerful, powerful comment that photography stems from a love affair with life. And if we fall out of love with life, there's a very big possibility that our love affair with the device itself, with the camera, with the lens, with the technology, it's only going to take us so long before we just find that it's boring, that we don't have anything we want to shoot because we're not passionate about the things that this beautiful apparatus can capture. I can only speak for myself. Let me know what you think here, right? This is important. This is where we dialogue and communicate. But I want to photograph everything that I love, and I feel like I love everything, right? If you go on my Instagram channel, which you can do down in the description, and I encourage you to, right? And then, you know, friend me so I can friend you back and we can communicate. I've made some of my best friends in photography from Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, right? So, you know, let's connect on these mediums, right? Even Vero. So if you go on my Instagram, you're going to see flowers, you're going to see street photography, you're going to see bridges, architecture, landscapes, cityscapes, right? Animals, you're going to see everything, models, fashion. Everything is so beautiful, right? So I feel like that's one of the reasons that I can't just photograph one theme. I did weddings very seriously for a while, and it pulled me out of everything else. I shot over 100 weddings. And it pulled me out of everything else because I was so busy with my day job and weddings, right? Debating whether I was going to leave my day job to pursue weddings, you know, full time. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm not shooting nature, I'm not shooting models, I'm not shooting cities, I'm not walking the streets. I can't, right? So I stepped away from that, and I still do headshots, and I still do portraits, and I still would do an event for a friend. But because it falls into the category of everything, right? And I love everything. So I love the fact that I shoot everything, and I don't blame photographers that have a liking for just one thing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? If you have a love affair with one thing, then you're always going to take pictures of it because you have a love affair with it, right? And you want to hold on to the moments and to those topics and to the scenes and whatever it is, right? But if you love nothing, how long can you walk around with a camera if you're upset at life, if you're depressed, if you're feeling depressed, right? and depression exists, right? Many people these days are depressed, right? That's a whole other topic, right? They say if you read enough and study enough that it comes from living in the past, right? Focusing on the things that happened in the past, the things that could have been, should have been, would have been. And then anxiety comes from looking too far in the future, right? Planning too far ahead and worrying about that stuff, right? So depression, anxiety come from the past and the future. And it comes from really, all of it stems from not living in the present. And that's just a little, thing I wanted to throw out there in case these thoughts are entering your mind that you're falling out of love with life. Think about it. Maybe this will affect you, right? Hopefully, right? Because I've thought about it. And so what does living in the present mean? It just means enjoying whatever you're doing at the moment, right? If you're sitting with your family, it means not thinking about your bills, not thinking about the things that are going to happen next week or the things that happened last week. It means just being there, right? Smiling, laughing, being goofy, enjoying what you're eating, right? Smelling what you're eating, tasting it, right? So that's basically living the moment. So make sure you're living the moment, and don't dwell on the past, and definitely don't focus so much on the future, because it's going to cause some of that lack of love affair with life, right? If you're living the present, then you love everything that's around you. And just remember, being grateful helps a great deal too, right? And this wasn't part of the video, it's not even scripted here, but if you're kind of falling out of love with life, being grateful for the things you have has helped me a lot. Being grateful for the things I have. So being grateful for the things you have may help you as well, right? I wake up every day grateful for another day, grateful for where I live, grateful for what I have. And I find that lately I'm just getting more of all this wonderful stuff, right? And I'm sure it's not a coincidence. So be grateful for everything. The people that love you, the people you love, everything you have, right? And more of it will continue to come your way. So, and you might find yourself that you're falling back in love with life. So very simple things. It's always those simple things that mean the most to us. And many times we focus on the difficult, expensive things, right? Like cameras and lenses and all that cool stuff. So let's keep going. We've pretty much reached the end, right? That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to offer some possibilities for why people leave photography and tell you what I thought my main one was, which is just falling out of love with life. And, thanks to Burk, Uzzle, born in 1938, we can think about these things, right? That's why I love all these quotes, and I go looking for quotes that spark a little thought. Let me know down in the comments below, how do you feel about life right now, right? Are you feeling really vibrant and loving it, right? Or are you kind of falling out of love with life? And if you are, what's the reason, right? Are times challenging? Is it hard to keep a job? Is it just difficult to pay for stuff, right? And maybe we could just communicate, right? And talk about all this, because we all go through all this, right? And I'm going through all that stuff too, right? I just choose not to dwell on that stuff, right? Yes, I have to deal with it. I have to come up with plans to work out all that stuff as well, right? Like you. But I don't dwell on that stuff, right? I'm so happy for what I have, and I'm grateful for what I have. And I can't ever wait to go out and shoot something, whether it's a flower or a landscape or another city. It keeps me motivated to travel, and even if it's traveling, a few miles away, right, to shoot some flowers, or traveling to, another city to do some street photography, it keeps me going, right? So find something that keeps you going. Don't let go of that, because that is your day-to-day, right? And when you wake up, 50 years from now, whatever the number is, you're going to look back and say, wow, I did so much with the time I had, right? I was able to live, a fulfilling life, whether you take pictures or not, right? If you're just curious and you landed on this channel, on this video, that's fine, right? Whatever you do for a living. Just don't lose that love affair with life. From the bottom of my heart, I love you guys. I appreciate your time. It never goes unnoticed. Thank you so much for the likes, the subscriptions, for all your love. And I will definitely catch up with you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and buy me a coffee if you get a chance, and then we can start doing reviews of cool stuff. So take care of yourselves, please. Hydrate yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now.